honestly shared advancement, because I've always just been in, you know, early games and stuff like that. It wasn't always shared advancement. That's kind of like a newer MMO kind of thing. But one of the things that was always a pain in the bum is the fact that if I finished a quest and, you know, when I finished the quest, I saved the village from being burnt. So when I sit there, you know, the village is all pristine again and all looks good. There's villagers. But when my friend walks into the exact same zone, is standing right beside me logically on the map, they see it surrounded by bandits and it's on fire. I can't even help them, you know? But now pretty much what's going to happen is, and this is one of the things that I remember talking about right off the bat, is what they need to do is they need to have the ability to sync with whoever the group leader is. If you want to go back and help a friend, say, you know, I'm on my VR almost 2 character, and my friend goes, hey, I can't beat this quest. Can you come back and help me? It's in a level 15 zone, whatever. But if I were to go back, I finished all those stuff, I wouldn't be able to help him. Now, when I join it, I'll see the zone exactly the way he sees it, even though as soon as we ungroup, I would be phased into my current zone where the town is okay, you know? So I think that will definitely help. You'll be able to always be together with the group leader. Even if you finish that particular quest, you will see it as however the group leader has it. So pretty much make the person who is least progressed the group leader, and then you'll all be able to work on it. Now, as for the shared quest stuff, I know that's a kind of a big deal for some people, and they are changing that as well. So that was a really, really cool thing that they're going to do. But for me, it's always the phasing was always the biggest problem, because I couldn't do a quest without these, because if I did a quest without her, I wouldn't be able to help her, or vice versa. So they're going to be changing all of that. And I know they're going to be rolling this out within the next couple of months. I would guess, let's go around, and for the changes for all the grouping, when do you think this is going to come in? What update? Let's go, Deltia, what do you think?
For the grouping, I think they've been working on that for quite a while. So I think 2 months, roughly. I don't think that's a big, huge system thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking 2 months, probably. Maybe in August it sneaks in, if not, you know, a month later.
Right. Art, what about you?
I remember someone saying something about update 5, but I can't remember for what part of this panel they said that. But I'm thinking update 4 or update 5. Like Deltia said, it should be around in 2 or 3 months.
Right. I actually might have been me who was saying update 5, because that's who I'm assuming it's going to be, is update 5. Yeah, I believe it'll be update 5, which will, based at that, update 4 is going to be released sometime around August. That's when they're planning on update 4. I think that's what it is, because update 3 will be out. When is update 3 coming out? Are we already? No, we're in update 3.
Early August, I think.
Early August is update 3. So update 4 will probably be near the end of September with their current patch cadence. So probably the last week of October, I would imagine, would be update 5. And I think that's when most of us will be out. It'll be definitely, I think it'll definitely be out all this year. Definitely. Next up from Rich Lambert was coming in update 5. There we go. Veteran City of Ash. You know what? I'm going to say this right. I'm very disappointed with ESO in its trials, because I'm a hardcore raider. I am. I've always been one. And their trials do not actually meet that level of difficulty. You know, I'm just going to say this right now, is I haven't even done them yet, but all my friends and stuff who tell me about it, the fact you can get it done in under 9 minutes tells me that level of difficulty is not there. You know, that the dungeons themselves, because they are designed to be, you know, speed run for scoring purposes, people are just finding ways of going through it, and it's not really the type of raid dungeon experience that I want to see. And I know in one of the Q&As back in the day, it was actually not, I think it was the QGN interview with Paul Sage. Phasius from Entropy Horizon was saying, are you guys ever going to release any content that is not time-based? and they are working on that. Now, with that being said, while I may be disappointed in the current 12-man raid content, the 4-man veteran content does not disappoint me at all. If you listen to last week's episode, even the name of the episode was VR Dungeon Fun, because we had a blast, and Ark was with us, and Kipster, who's in the chat. We had an absolute blast dying over and over and over again in the first couple veteran dungeons. Now, Thais was getting, she's going to be mad at me, but she's not here so I can say it. She was getting a little frustrated with it. I, on the other hand, was loving it. You know, I'm one of those guys who actually enjoys playing Dark Souls. You know, like, I love that level of difficulty, the wanting to, you know, cry blood difficulty. That's what I like. And the veteran dungeons are definitely really difficult. Like, and that's the kind of experience I want to see in a raid environment. And if they do that, I'm just going to be the most happy guy, like, in the world. And I would actually, while I do advertise this game to a lot of my friends and stuff of that nature, I always say you'll like it a lot if you're an Elder Scrolls fan. If you're into the old MMO mechanics, maybe you should wait a little longer. You know, if there's certain MMO mechanic stuff that they like and they're not really a big Elder Scrolls fan, I'm like, well, you know, maybe you're not going to like it, because if you're only into large raiding at this point in time, I wouldn't say go with it. But if you're into hard content, the veteran rank dungeons are definitely hard 4-man content. If you like that smaller hard content, this will definitely give it to you. And Deltia, I know you're one of our highest person. Did you do the new veteran Crypt of Hearts?
Yeah, I have. Kipster and I were talking about that. It's very challenging, actually. We got to the 5th boss, and then we got tired and didn't finish it. And then everyone's been doing PvP lately, so we haven't got back to it. But we're going to try tonight, I think, again. And it's very hard. I mean, your tank has to be on it. You're going to run out of resources if you're not smart. All the stereotypical things. I like it a lot better. Now, I will disagree with you about the trials. Here's why. Trials are hard, but they're not hard for everyone. Okay? If you're a Dragon Knight, you have the typical build with Equilibrium, Mage Light, your 3 abilities that everyone knows and loves and uses. That's basically the only people that get to go in those trial teams. The builds, the problem with the game is builds aren't viable. The content's hard enough. If I would try to go in there with like a different build, maybe let's say 2-handed weapon, let's say bow, it ain't gonna happen. That's the problem with the trials, is that you have to have a Templar healer that does basically one ability, and you have to have basically someone spamming Impulse, and then someone spamming Flames of Oblivion, then someone that, you know, so that's what I don't like. There's no variety. You know, it's all the cookie cutter destruction and resto staff. So once they even it out and make things a little more viable, weapon builds specifically, then the content I think will be harder, because people can play what they want, not what they have to. And that's what I don't like about it. So that's my rant about the trials, because I don't want to do a cookie-cutter destruction staff resto build that everyone else is doing. That's not what they promised us. So that's where I'm at with it.
Now, I'm going to piggyback off you for a moment, because I think this will be a good little back and forth here. I'm going to disagree on the premise of, in other games that focus on raiding, such as Rift, such as World of Warcraft, probably even WildStar, I don't know, I've heard their raids are pretty bad. Hardest part's getting 40 people. There's always going to be cookie cutter builds, but in those games, even if you have the best cookie cutter builds, you still don't get it done in 9 minutes. You know,
yeah.
The content is still hard. Like, even though I played a Retribution Paladin in Warcraft, okay? So I play there was a cookie cutter build going, you want this ability, this ability, this ability, this ability, okay? This is your optimal damage build. But even with that, if I messed up mechanics, then we would die. I think a lot of the issues, from what I've even seen with the trials, is the current case of trials is there's some mechanics, not as many as in some of the VRs, but forgive me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the bosses, because of the speed runs, are burn phases. Now, I'm not saying bosses with burn phases are bad, but every boss being a burn phase is just bring the best DPS. The best way for you to break out some of this stop playing the Elder Staves Online here for a minute, would be to introduce mechanics that discourage burst DPS, such as having to stop and change and do something else, like not being able to damage the boss until you do something else. As of now, it's just as much damage as physically possible to burn through the burn phase. Now, almost every game that comes out has a burn boss, which is what's called a DPS check, to make sure that if you can burn this boss down before it kills you, your party is relatively well geared enough to actually complete the whole thing. That's what a DPS check is. But with every boss being a DPS check, it only encourages the highest DPS builds. And I mean, people are going to want to do that, but maybe they would focus a little bit more on survivability if halfway during the fight she goes immune, or a boss goes immune, does like an AoE pulse that hits everyone, so they have to survive a little bit, and I don't know, pull levers or do something that is not directly related to damaging.
Well,
and
yeah,
that's what I would imagine.
But like, to be honest, they could make it 5 hours long. They don't change any of the mechanics. All they do is give the boss 2 million more hit points. So you have to stand there and beat on it, doing the same 5 different mechanics over and over. Is that really better? I don't think so either. Because, I mean, you can add mechanics and that makes it fun. That's really... But I like the idea that it can be done fast. Give them 55 million more hit points. Well, now it lasts 2 hours, but is that really fun? I don't know. I like short and intense over long and, moderately intense, where everyone has to run out of the red. But then again, I'm a PvPer, so...
Right. To me, it's just like a dungeon itself should last longer than 9 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And if you have enough damage, it's almost like you can avoid almost all the mechanics anyway, other than don't stand in fire, which is a common one. Don't stand in fire. As long as you don't do that, it's fine. But there's not enough of the breaking up to make people do other things to stay away from damage. Like, I've watched most of the fights. It's pretty much just stack and burn, stack and burn.
Grand healing, grand healing, grand healing, grand healing, grand healing.
Yeah, exactly. That causes a lot of the, just the mentality of, well, we're only bringing, Dragon Knight,
Dunmer
with Fire Staff, and Templars with Resto Staffs, because they do the best. I mean, yeah, that's going to happen throughout the game, but a Dragon Knight with a Flyer Staff maybe wouldn't have the survivability to go, maybe they need an off tank to go run and do something else, or they need, DPS to be able to take out multiple anything like that. They need to break it up so that high damage glass cannon builds aren't the only way to go. You know?
That's a good idea.
Ark, you've been kind of quiet on the subject. Do you have any input?
Well, as you know, I haven't even entered Cragglorn yet, and I'm inexperienced in the trials, but what I'm expecting from a dungeon is that it should force me to have some kind of strategy. Not the best damage or highest damage in smallest time. I feel like, trials are 12 people, right? It's a lot of flexibility for a organized strategy. So I would expect from a trial that it should force me into making a strategy, into trying different strategies. It is time-based, it's a time trial, but I shouldn't beat it faster if I go with higher damage. I should beat it faster if I use a better strategy. So I'm expecting that from trials, but as I said, I haven't even entered Cragglorn yet, so I'm not sure how that goes.
And I agree with you completely. It's the strategy behind it rather than, because I'll even tell you, in fights where it was just DPS checks, they are the most boring things in the world. You can ask most hardcore raiders, once they have something like that on farm, half the time they don't even pay attention. Like, they just sit there and go, okay, I know my abilities are 1, 2, 3, I know this game doesn't really lend to rotations, but you still get that mentality of, I know this is the attack I gotta do. As long as I stand right here, I'll be fine. Having mechanics that, that that really spice it up would be a lot of fun. One of the things that I think would be really neat is to give bosses an array of abilities that need to be avoided or dealt with in some way, but randomize them. So don't do the phase mechanic where phase 1 is 100% to 75% health, where they'll just do this, this, and this. Instead, make the boss say, okay, this boss can lay down, pick random people and throw fire on the ground. This boss splits into 2, and you have to, take them to the other side of the room and damage them down a certain amount so they regain. And then this one over here creates a damage shield and summons adds. But instead of doing it in phases, just give them all those abilities and randomize it. That every so many seconds, they pick one of those abilities and do it. So you may get, oh no, adds again. Oh no, adds again. That you have to be on your toes to deal with rather than just memorizing a pattern or memorizing that kind of stuff, Just imagine how much or how difficult it would be where, say phase where you would have to stack up to avoid a mechanic, and she summoned ads, so everyone's spread out trying to deal with the ads, and all of a sudden her next mechanic is randomly chosen as, oh crap, it's the one where we, because we're not stacked, we have to get together quickly to avoid damage or something along those lines. Randomizing it would definitely make some difficult content. Anyway, I know we kind of got off on a little rabbit trail, but yeah, new veterans, City of Ash, coming in Update 5, and definitely going to be fun. Next up, speaking of dungeons, and how we felt about the leveling career, is the fact that most people feel like dungeons, after you beat them once, specifically the leveling ones, there's really no need to go back in and do it again.
Exactly.
There isn't.
Exactly.
Unless you're helping a friend, there's no need to go in and do it again. And arguably so, the veteran dungeons, there's really no need to go in and do it again after you do once, because you get your skill point. You may or may not get an item, but who cares, because maybe the item is crafted or the item you really want is Cragworn.
Well, there is one point, and that's to get your Undaunted up, because basically the last ability in Undaunted is God mode. It's literally game breaking.
Yeah, you mean
necrotic?
Pretty much.
Necrotic
just everyone's
orb.
A Dragon Knight.
Necrotic orb gives your party basically unlimited magic. So a Templar that has shards, luminous shards, and necrotic orb, like my friend Barsha, can keep up an entire party full of magic and stamina just by using those abilities. So yeah, hope enjoy that.
Nice. Well, hearing our concerns about this, they are doing a couple different things. First off, dungeons. They will scale the dungeon level to the group leader. That includes monsters, items, experience, and gold. So you can go back and do the lower level dungeons at a higher level. Like, you won't over level them so much, and everything will be leveled up to you. So if you need to go back and help a friend, yeah, well, you would have done that anyway. But say you and your VR4 buddies are bored and just want to go back and do normal mode Fungal Grotto, you can, and everything will be veteran rank 4, and you'll get rewards and gold and stuff like that that reflects the difficulty change. Will it be as hard as the VR stuff? No, probably not, but it will definitely be harder and will actually reward you for the effort. Going back and getting a level 10 sword, you go, great, I don't even want to break this down because I don't even get inspiration off of it anymore, is kind of worthless. But going in and getting a VR4 sword that's a green or a blue or something like that, going, hey, I can break this down and maybe get some good materials out of it, well, maybe people go back and do it a little bit more often. Next up is dungeon repeatability. Daily dungeons will come to ESO through what they're going to do is the Undaunted, our friends. We are Undaunted. We are Undaunted. Undaunted. Yes, that. You think they could get better voice actors?
Their voice actors are awesome, dude. They have the one guy off of Star
I
Wars
agree,
Diploma.
most of their voice actors are awesome, but those Undaunted guys, I could just see myself sitting there with like my head in my hand just going, oh, just shut up. Just shut up. For being Undaunted, you guys are probably the most monotone speech ever. Just, no, stop. Anyway, they're going to leverage the Undaunted, and we're going to get daily dungeon quests known as pledges. So what's going to be kind of neat is you'll be able to do these, and every time you complete these, you'll get special keys that will allow you to open up special treasure chest containing unique-looking armor and weapons, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Woot.
Yes, woot indeed. There's also some other neat little stuff that we'll go back and talk about when we when we get to the art director, Jared Carr. But the other thing is they are upgrading the Undaunted line to add passives. So we'll be able to go through, and as you're doing these, you'll actually be able to grow your character in strength more by doing the dailies and stuff of that nature. So I think this will be a good thing overall, because it will encourage people to do dungeons now. Like, I think you'll start seeing a lot more people in cities calling for groups and stuff, because when you pick, when it resets and you have a dungeon going, oh, it's Veteran City of Ash today, you'll see lots of groups going, hey, trying to do Veteran City of Ash, I need this, this, and this. What do you guys feel? Deltia?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I mean, I usually hate dailies because it makes the game just terrible. Like, just basically I have to log in today to get my daily, but they need, now I realize why developers and games have them, because there has to be a reason to do something over again, not monetarily, but character development wise. You need to always feel like your character is getting stronger and more powerful. And so for them to add this, I will do dungeons every day. I mean, I'm not going to do a million other things, but I will do them every day. If like you get, let's say 200 of them, you get like some super badass armor set. Yeah, I will be doing it all the time, because they only take 30 minutes, and then you can like, start learning mechanics and then also developing your team. So right now, there's no reason for us to do it. And sometimes, like, I'll ask my friends to go carry me through a dungeon. So they'll get on their VR12, and I'm on my level 15, and they'll just nuke everything, and then I get my skill point, and we never do it again. So, yeah, I think this is an awesome, awesome idea. As long as the rewards aren't overpowered or underpowered. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, how do other games, Warcraft, for instance, Rift, Final Fantasy XIV, they encourage daily dungeons by having these things where you get, in their games, tokens that you can then use to get better gear for, raiding and stuff. That's how it encourages you to go in there and do it, because then you're advancing your character through getting a currency to get better gear, which is essentially what they're doing here.
One thing, I don't know if we're going to cover this later or not, but I should have said this. The biggest change that I'm excited about is that they're making the stuff account bound versus character bound. You know what I mean? The veteran rescale. I think we'll probably talk about that. But that's why I think the game is going to really succeed now, is because alts can be purposeful and not just a waste of time. And that's why going through and doing other dungeons on different characters will add up your Undaunted achievement. That's going to lead to cooler, more different dies. That's going to lead to Undaunted passives. So everything you're doing feels like you're progressing. Right now it doesn't. So the future looks bright.
Oh, it definitely does. Ark, do you have anything about dungeon repeatability?
Well, with the daily quests, I'll probably do dungeons every day, but I'll forget to take the daily quest, and it will be meaningless. Because I always forget to take the quests in Threadle 2. I just go and help people to do the quest, but then realize I don't have it. So yeah, I will be doing the dungeons every day if there are people doing it, but it will be just for the fun. I mean, if there is no quest or rewards for it, I will be doing it. I will still be doing it. I'm not really into dungeons for the rewards.
Right.
So.
Well, Ark, unfortunately, the not picking up the quest is more of a personal problem, and yeah. I don't think anything that ZeniMax can actually do would help you with that, good sir.
Well, they could give me quests automatically.
they could just force quest upon me. Oh dear, yeah, that wouldn't give things people to yell about. All right, so next up from Rich Lambert was a new chapter of Craglorn is coming out, all about the Scaled Court. Included in this is a new crafting trait, which is going to be exciting, and a new 12-person trial, the Trial of the Serpent. Now, hopefully they've taken what they've learned from Hellraw Citadel and Arthurian Archived and will, buff this one up a little bit, because I really think a lot of the hardcore gamers, the raiders and stuff like that, are disappointed with current trials. So hopefully they will. I mean, it's definitely a learning thing, and the beginning WoW raids, which is pretty much WoW is the epitome of the raiding scene now, whether you agree with me or not. They kind of perfected the art of raid. That's what their game is. And their raids now are getting more and more advanced. Their first ones were don't stand in the fire. Like, literally, that's what they were. Molten Core was don't stand in the fire. There were very little mechanics to the fights as a whole. Not near the amount that they do now. So it's definitely a learning experience, and I think it'll get better as they go along. Anyone have anything to say about Trial of the Serpent? Any thoughts, feelings, or hopes for it?
Well, besides the content and the mechanics and all that stuff, I think they've really done a good job implementing the story into the dungeon. Like, it feels purposeful, not like, oh, here's another dungeon like the Yakutans. You feel like you know a connection with them. And so, like, the stories really feel, the story and the dungeon match is what I'm trying to say, and they sync up, making it more enjoyable. I think they've done a great job of that. So if they're coming out with a new storyline and whatnot, I think that's awesome.
Definitely. Art, what about you?
Well, I don't really have much to say about it again, but the harder the better. I want to cry when I'm playing a dungeon.
You and me both, brother.
Oh my god, you guys are weird.
I do. Like, when we were doing it with Kipster the other day, and we were dying over, and I was giddy in my seat, just going, this is so great.
Kipster
like,
doesn't die.
I'm masochistic over here, like, I'm crying, and I'm like, yes, this is so great. I can't believe I'm dying so much, but this is awesome. I loved it. I did, because I gotta tell you, when we beat those dungeons, I felt like
a boss. You
thrilled, like, yeah, this is awesome. But when you beat a dungeon that's so simple, you don't get that. You don't feel that sense of accomplishment. I play games like, yeah, I like to be rewarded and stuff like that, but I don't like, I don't want to feel like elementary schools nowadays where you get a reward just for participating. When you get a reward, it's because you should have accomplished something. Nowadays games just feel like dungeons and stuff like that is, if you play, you get a reward. Everyone's special. No.
Yeah, it's dirt mode.
Exactly. It's everyone should want to put forth the effort, because I gotta tell you, when you put forth that effort, if it's something difficult, when you actually do accomplish it, you feel so good about yourself versus, not. And I mean, if we're gonna play games like this, we want a challenge. We want something to stimulate us. If I didn't want to do this, I'd go play Farmville. There's no challenge. I just have to make sure I'm there for my timer, There's no challenge behind it, and that's technically a game, where I get rewarded for just accepting whatever it is. I don't want that, or else I would be doing that, That's not what I'm into. I can't wait for the guild to start endgame. Guild not good. I agree, Kipster. I want to get up there as well. Next up, Deltia, I'm going to expect a lot from you on this one. Dragon Star Arena, 4-person group mini trials. Progressively more difficult timed PvE encounters with leaderboards. There will be 2 different difficulty modes. A normal for the casual players, where you can get in there and just learn the stuff and play on it. It won't be as difficult. And a veteran mode, which has restrictions and is tied to a leaderboard. So, Deltia, I'm going to let you go first and just tell us what you think.
Awesome. I mean, 4-player badass mode, I love it. I don't like the 12-player stuff. I really don't. And why, I don't know. I guess I'm antisocial. But, for me, I was in the Army, in the infantry, went to combat, did the whole thing, and I like the whole small team atmosphere. You don't have to like each other, but you respect each other, and you listen to your leaders and stuff like that, and that kind of translates to gaming. If you want to be on top, you get a 4-person team together, you got one dominant leader, and everyone does their job. There's nothing more satisfying than completing something very challenging that no one else can do. That's why those things feel fun. You're screaming on TeamSpeak or Mumble. You're like, no one else can do what we just did. Or not no one else, but very few people can, And that's what leaderboards are cool. 4 people, it's just the right number, it seems like. You know, you can balance each other's schedules. You can work on things together individually or in a group. So yeah, I can't say enough about it. What they said, I think it was basically they couldn't even beat it, like the developers. And I'm sure, you know, people will be beating it first day, but it's going to be awesome. I'm going to spend a lot of time in there when I'm not doing the Imperial City, because hopefully you can travel there really easily. That's really what I want to know. Is it easy to get into? Can you queue up? Can you just walk over something? I want to be able to come home off of work, boom, hour, fired up and go. That can happen. I'm really excited about it.
Exactly. Ark, what do you think about the Dragonstar Arena?
Yeah, I agree with Deltia, and the fact that it's going to be harder and harder as we progress is amazing. I mean, if you even don't cry at the start, you are going to start crying eventually. I mean, by the time you reach the end, we'll be probably hitting our heads to keyboards, but it will be fun.
Indeed. All right. Next up on the interview list was Jesse McIntyre, our client programmer, and he was talking about the advanced facial animations. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because he really kind of went into the details of it. And if you haven't seen this, like, there's one on YouTube. You can go see. You can go check out the timestamp on it and take you right to his interview. And he talks a lot about the tech behind it. But one of the best things that he did was he showed us how it works. And they're using a technology known as FaceFX. And it takes audio and text input and actually maps the sounds and the phonemes to the mouth shapes. And currently, I guess, with FX, what he was saying, there's something like 22, 24 new facial expressions within ESO thanks to this software. And they changed the way the bone structure in the faces for the groups are. So instead of having a single bone for the mouth, they've increased it so that there's a lot more movement in the facial animation. Now, let's just... I'm just going to gush about it a little bit. They showed us the side-by-side, and it's like I didn't even know it was a problem. Like, I would laugh every once in a while when, like, the jaw got a little off kilter and it was off to the side a little bit. Oh yeah, look at that funny little bug. But it didn't look near as archaic until they showed it next to the FaceFX models, and they had it up side by side. They did the same quest, and each guy would say the same line, and you could just see the facial animations. Like in one particular one, for me, they showed a Khajiit, and he was talking, and I guess he got angry at one point. You can see him snarl, and then he says something that was kind of like an offhand, sarcastic kind of, and his face actually contorted into a grin. He went from being angry to getting this little sly grin, like, yeah, Deltia's PvP team came in and stomped us, but we left a trap and it wiped them all. They got this little grin, and it was amazing seeing the grin appear on the face. Like, it went from anger to this sly grin. It was just really, really awesome, and the emotion showed. I know they showed Queen Aren, and they showed her. The facial animation.
Make sure you get her name right.
I don't know. She's dead. I don't know. She's a dirty high elf prostitute.
Oh, prostitute! Oh my god.
She is.
And you got a
dirty high elf prostitute.
And you got a fat drunk at the helm. So what's worse?
We still got Almalexia, man. She's like a living god. She's hotter than
my god,
your queen of the brothel. Anyway, before I start a war, which there's already one going on, haha. What did you guys think about the actual animations when you've seen them? Let's start with Art.
Well, like, Khajiit had a facial expression. I mean, what could you expect more? It was a Khajiit, and it showed emotions.
It was really cool. It really was.
Though, I am sad because Jesse told that it will be months before we can see this in game. So that's a little sad.
Well, you know, they with their update cadence and stuff of that nature, yeah, it could be a while, but I'm just glad to see that they're already past. I won't even say the most difficult part, but they're in with the implementation. So now it's just the Q&A, the bug fixing. And I know that's actually be quite a process, but the development side can take a very, very long time to get the development. Now it's just the bug fixing and getting it into production. That's hopeful for me. That's better than we're on the drawing board. Because when there's on the drawing board, you have to conceptualize. Once you have a concept, you have to start looking at viability and start the development. And development, depending on how complex the idea is, and making sure that it works with the current systems and the current code, it can be a lot. And now it's, you know, it's in. So now it's just moving to production. So it's definitely hopeful. And Kipster, fat drunk, them is fighting words, sir. Oh, we're gonna have a fight on the podcast. It's gonna be great. Deltia, what did you feel about FaceFX?
I wasn't that passionate like you guys, but because I had my resolution down so I could like watch two things at once. But as far as like immersion, this game, like I said on Twitter to someone, why do you like the game? I mean, it's so immersive, and to think that they're still adding new graphics and they're spending time making it more immersive, that's exciting, because already this is, my opinion, the best graphically MMO out there. I mean, it's just amazing graphically. So it's just all about immersion and making you feel like you're part of the environment, and this game does a fantastic job already. Yeah, it's just everything they're doing it's good. They're listening to what people want, and that's exactly what they want.
It really is true. It's one of those things, like, you know, I play Final Fantasy 14 as well as this game, and while that game it's a fun MMO, it really is. It's a fun MMO. There's just something, like, I'm not immersed when I play that game. I play it because I like the MMO mechanics and I like the dungeon running. You know, the old school non-action based, you know, tank healer DPS, and the rotation. That's why I play it. I get a little bit of both, but I'm not immersed in that game. Like, I skip quest text. I don't feel immersed. Like, yeah, they have pretty areas. It's just I don't feel immersed in the game. I don't feel like I'm there. I'm having fun playing a game. When I play Elder Scrolls Online, though, it's a different feeling. It's not I'm playing a game. It's I'm living in a world. That's the difference to me. Like, how immersive this game is, I feel like I'm there. And I know it's kind of like a nerdy thing to say, but it is true. The way the game is, it just feels alive. Final Fantasy 14 does not. The NPCs are very stagnant. Like, yeah, there's not as much movement in this as in single player, but the world itself just feels alive. It feels immersive. It feels like people would live here. Yep. In 14, I go in and I do like what Deltia says. I got 30 minutes. Oh, I can run a dungeon. We had that last night before we did an audio test. He's like, yeah, I'll be ready in 30 minutes. What did I do? I'm like, well, I can run a dungeon.
And he was late.
I was late. The healer didn't know what they were doing.
Blame it on the healer. That's typical.
It was true. They had no idea that was the first time they ever did the dungeon, so it took us a little longer. But that was one of those things where in ESO, not saying I can't do that, but because of how the world is, it's like, I feel like I'm just going to hop in and have an adventure. I don't know how much time it's going to take me. But in that game, it's, okay, 30 minutes, I can run a daily roulette. I'm good. I can just have my dungeon experience, I can log off, or I can do my daily quest. That's it. This game, it's I log in and I go, what do I feel like doing in Tamriel today? You know, what am I gonna do as a person living here? The immersion is just amazing, and little things like this. While yeah, maybe some people are like, why are you wasting time on that? Because I just skip through the quest tests anyway. Those of us who actually sit there, I can tell Thais would agree with this. Several times she's got choked up from the story and stuff like that, but now you'll see the facial animations. It'll feel even more real. It's going to be amazing. It really is.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, can I say one thing?
Oh, yeah, Delta, go ahead. I
just got a new ability, and this ability makes me want to play this game nonstop for 2 days. Bolt Escape? Oh my god, these characters in this game. It's so fun playing this game. You know what I mean? It's just fun. I don't know what it is. It's immersion. It's fun. Like, it's great. It's great. Anyways, sorry.
It is. Like, and with that kind of note, when you're playing these games, even the fighting, the way it's done, it just is unique. It feels great because of the Elder Scrolls way of playing. I don't get that experience. Final Fantasy XIV, as I said, is a very old school MMO. I have a rotation. When I'm playing my Dragoon, I know my 14-button rotation. It's very big. But I know all the buttons to hit. 1, 2, 3, okay, now I gotta do this buff, okay, this, blah, blah, blah. This game, it's, okay, I have these abilities, what do I do, and how can I use them in fun, awesome ways? It's just, I love it. And actually, Thais has that ability too, and now she loves it. She didn't buy it for the longest time. She thought it was a dumb ability. Now she got it. Now she does it every 3 seconds.
Well, and the best thing is, like, everyone's character, I mean, besides the Dragon Knight, Dumber, Sork build, whatever, but it's different. It feels like your character, because when I was playing MMOs and doing competitive stuff, I knew the guy or gal across me would have this ability, they should be buffing at this time, they should, I knew exactly what they were going to do. Now, I have no idea. A Sork is not a Sork is not a Sork. I could wear heavy armor, I could wear light armor. I mean, it just makes it feel uniquely you, and that's what a game should make you feel like. That's your game,
Exactly. I think that's part of the immersion we're talking about, because in other games, like Final Fantasy XIV again, I'm a Dragoon. I'm one of 9 billion Dragoons. In this game, I am Aggelos the Templar. There's no one else like me, Because if maybe someone has similar builds, maybe they don't use them the same way, but I have an arsenal of abilities. And I mean, even the Ark, when we were doing the one VR dungeon, we were swapping out abilities going, okay, you each need to have sword bash on your bar so you can stop this. And I'm sitting there going, I was playing with the bow, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then we were starting to fail. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have this really cool ultimate, but if I go into melee, I can cleave, and I have it morph to give me more ultimate so I can do ultimate more. And it was just switching out the abilities. At a first glance, you could tell I'm a Templar, but I might not even be using Templar abilities. You don't know. I could be. My one build actually doesn't use any. It uses all Fighters Guild and weapon set. So there's nothing that tells that I'm a Templar when I'm doing that particular build. So it's fantastic. Okay, anyone have anything else to say about FaceFX before we move on to the next interviewee?
Nope.
Okay. Next up on the list was Mr. Paul Sage himself, creative director for the game. And he was talking about the revamp of the veteran rank and the introduction of the champion and justice systems. Now, I'm gonna go over these things real quick, and we'll talk about it. The revamp of the VR and the introduction of the champion system. The notes that I have here are the way the veteran system is working is they wanted it to ramp up in difficulty, but the problem is it wasn't. It was just a brick wall. So they're working on ways of ramping up to difficulty, changing the way that we're rewarded, because the way it currently was before was rewards were infrequent, and the experience was just too different from the 1 to 50 leveling experience. That was a lot of the complaints they received about the veteran ranks. So they decided they are going to be updating the veteran rank experience. Now, the first one, which was already done in patch, I guess update 2, which they reduced the difficulty in the VR zones. They pretty much flat reduced it, so that way it didn't feel almost like hitting a brick wall where it would scale up a little bit. And the starting zones weren't as hard, but as you advance through the veteran stuff, it got a little bit harder and a little bit more and more and more up until a certain point. Now, they already did that. Now, the next step of their upgrade phase is they're getting rid of veteran points, and now veteran ranks will be gained through normal XP. They're also adding inspiration, which is rested XP. Now, I know yesterday in Guild someone asked me about it was Cold Harbor and how they were 50 and stuff like that, and I said how Thais and I, we hit 50 when we were in Riften because of how we played. But that made the end of Riften and all of Cold Harbor, we didn't get anything for because we were still earning experience and not veteran points. So we were VR1 all the way through Cold Harbor and got really nothing for it because of, we didn't, other than, leveling up skills. But now they're changing that people who play that way would have actually been getting experience for doing those things and leveling up their veteran ranks. Next up is the introduction of the champion system, which those two things aside, do you guys have anything to say about those first two? They're kind of straightforward.
About the veteran point stuff or the champion system?
The upgrading of the VR dungeon or the VR zones so that they weren't as difficult, and changing veteran points to experience.
Hate it. The veteran points to experience, amazing change. Amazing change. Nerfing it, oh my god, I hate that. I hate it. Dude, it was awesome when you got to veteran level. You couldn't just dink and doink around with some build. I mean, you had to be good. You had to know your class. That's what it's all about. And yeah, I was disappointed with that. I mean, it's probably just the, when I was going to school, it was uphill both ways type thing. But these kids nowadays, in their veteran rank, don't, but I don't know. I don't like it. I thought the difficulty was fun. It was new. It wasn't just dirt mode, click 2 buttons and you could get to endgame. That's what I loved about this game. So, I'm disappointed.
Ark, what about you?
I agree on nerfing part with, I agree on Deltia with the nerfing part, but I'm glad they ramped it up because when I first hit the veteran rank, I was like, oh, I'm veteran rank, I should go try killing some mobs. And I died. So I switched to my tank build and I died again. So I kept on dying for a while before I get used to the level of difficulty, because before veteran rank I could just go up the 5 level higher mobs and kill them without a problem. When I hit the veteran rank, just 2 of the VR1 creatures were enough to kill me, so I'm glad they ramped it up. But about nerfing part, I agree with Deltia.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I personally agree as well. That I like hard stuff, but for the life of the game, I'm kind of glad they did it because it'll bring people back who, because the game needs casual people to survive.
True.
I think the difficulty still needs to be there in some way to hold our attention, but make it content that is, when you're at max level. Not I know technically you are at max level in the veteran ranks, but that's not how people saw it.
No.
They saw it as, I'm still leveling and now it's too hard for me to level. Okay. As a player, it hurts me, but as someone who loves the game and wants it to thrive, I think it was a better choice to get the casual people back into the game and enjoy the leveling experience.
You're absolutely
Maybe then they'll try a veteran dungeon that's difficult and actually go, hey, I like difficulty, and, be a member of the good society.
The good society.
I know, that was wrong. I love you casual players. But
filthy casuals. Oh, did I say that out loud?
But yeah, it was just, people didn't like it. Now people will go, hey, now I'm veteran rank and I can't really do the dungeon. That's okay, I'll do something else. But they will now be max level, and I think it was a good change for the financial life of the game. Those out of the way though. Now we're gonna get into the fun, exciting stuff. Champion system.
Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I'll be right back using the restroom.
All right, not a problem. Champion system is gonna be pretty awesome. Now they're adding new passives that you'll be able to use CP with, champion points, which you'll earn through your leveling to increase these passive. Now they are using the constellation tree, and I love the look of it so far. Like it's just awesome. With that being said, they gave us some examples of some of the passives that you could do. Now these are not, as they stress, these are not set in stone. These are just examples of what we can look forward to when we get to see the champion point system. So as you're leveling up and getting these champion points to advance your characters, you can put these points in the different constellations and things such as Blade Expert, which increases the base damage any player can do with a blade. It does not increase any of the extra damage from damage types on blades. Tenacity, which increases total stamina regained by a percentage. Shock Boost increases damage done by shock and increases resistance to shock. And Precise Strikes, which increases the percentage on the weapon critical derived stat. Now, another thing that they're doing is as you're going up these trees and unlocking these bonuses, as you spend a certain amount of points in trees, specific constellation trees, they themselves have passives that unlock. So these aren't things that you actually pay for. These are things you get once you have 10 points or 30 points or 50 points or 100 points in a specific constellation. So this may encourage people to diversify and get a whole bunch of the 10-point stuff, or maybe they just specifically want to go up a specific tree and get everything. And some of the examples they have here is by spending 10 points in a constellation tree, you get Impatience, which is a significant increase to the success chance at forcing locks. At 30 points, they had Fortune Hunter, which the gold found in chest is increased. At 50 points, Deflection, blocking now returns a percentage of the mitigated damage to the attacker. And at 100, you got Counterstrike. A successful block at lower than 10% health has a percentage chance to return or prevent and return 100% of the damage back to the attacker on a 10-minute cooldown. So this kind of reminds me of the old talent trees from Warcraft and stuff like that. As you went up, you got these extra benefits. So here's a way of going, do I want to specialize in one specific constellation tree and get all these benefits and get this super powerful ability, or do I want to diversify my points across all the constellation and have a wider range of passives? Deltia, what did you think about this champion system?
I am blown away by it. That's kind of what they did in Warhammer and the Dark Age of Camelot too, is basically had the renown points, which they took forever to get, but had huge significant bonuses to, I guess, all your characters now. I love it. This is awesome long-term content for the game. It makes it very viable to do a bunch of different things, and whatever you're doing, it's meaningful, because you're always getting points towards this. So if you're leveling on an alt, so all your time in the game is valuable for all your characters. I love it. Get rid of the veteran rank crap. People don't like it, and they actually listened to their players and didn't try to convince us of something. And they're changing it. Make one streamlined thing. There's no big secrets. I think it's fascinating. I'm glad they really changed this. It's awesome.
And it reminds me a lot of the Paragon system, or not even that one so much in Diablo 3, but the alternative advancement system in Rift, where after you hit max level, you would constantly get points that you could place in these extra little trees that gave you benefits. And what I'm really interested in is, like, based on this, there's at least 100 points. I wonder how much they're going to allow us to, build these trees. Like, is it going to be an ever-going thing?
Well, they said it was limitless, but it'd take years to max out. Well, not limitless, I'm sorry, but it's, I don't think it's limitless, but it's going to take a while to max out. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Like, well, I imagine earning these CP points, and I'm sure they'll actually add more as you go. And since these are all account-based, it doesn't matter. Like, if they release a new class or something like that, not saying they would or whatever the case may be, but if they did, you don't have to feel bad about abandoning your character you've been playing for like 3 years and go, well, crap, I had 97 champion points and I got to earn them all again. It took me 2 years to do that. Yep. Now it's all account bound. So it's like, oh, great. Now I leveled up or like in your case, you had the derpy Dragon Knight. Now you're playing the Sorcerer. If this was the champion system and you spent all that time on your Dragon Knight and it wasn't account bound, it's like maybe you wouldn't even want to try the Sorcerer because you wouldn't want to have to redo all the work.
Yep.
So, and I definitely like the fact that champion points will allow us to keep, everything you do makes your character better. That's one thing that I liked about Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. You kept earning skill points, even though you didn't have things to spend them on. You could then spend them on other, like consumables and things like that. But regardless, anything you did in game, you would be over time earning these skill points that had some function. So there was a constant evolve, even though it wasn't, a lot. And that's one thing I hope they do with this. Champion system isn't meant to be overly powerful. It's just meant to augment and make you feel like you're getting stronger through subtle change as you go along. Ark, I haven't heard anything from you yet on this, and I'm up to you. What do you think about the champion system?
it's great, and I agree about all you said. And I mentioned something else. It will allow us to. I mean, we already have a very wide range of customization ability. So we can make different classes. I can go with dual wielding sorcerer, heavy two-handed sword wielding sorcerer like this, and we are just seeing the tower constellations abilities right now. But for an example, it gives a shock boost, so increased damage done by shock. I might be wanting to play as a shock destruction stuff. I mean lightning type destruction stuff. But nearly all the buffs about elemental buffs in games are fire type. I mean, Dragon Knight gives fire type buff, Dunmers give fire type buff. So I believe through this champion points we'll have more customization. What do you say? I forgot the word, but I think you get the idea.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about. You'll be able to make a character that feels uniquely you, without having, you know, you can play any character you want, but like I'm looking at this particular thing and I'm a melee character, so I'm gonna augment my guy to do, you know, that like that tenacity with the total stamina regain. Oh, I'm gonna love that, you know. Blade expert. That's something for me, because even in Skyrim, I always did the blade expert trait because I like swords. Why? I don't know. I like them. Aesthetically, I prefer sword over an axe. If I had a choice between two, like they're like, oh, you can have this axe or you can have this sword, I would want the sword. And actually, I've made that choice before where I passed up on items, not in this game, but in other ones where it was only a slight upgrade. They're like, oh, you can have this axe or something like that. I'm like, nah, I'll keep my sword. I like it, you know, just because I like swords. So being able to advance my character in that way, going, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be a blade expert, you know, that's a choice that I will make. So when items drop and go, oh, look at this axe, this is better than what you got, I'm like, well, not really, because I buffed myself to be better with blades, so no, I don't want that. You know, that's the way I like to play, and it definitely makes me different from other people. TS Fangirl said she likes the champion system because it's a way to invest in your ESO account and not individual characters. They're very excited for it. Like Ark, I'm looking forward to increased customization this will offer to players. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty awesome. Anything else on the champion system before we move on to the next part?
I didn't even think, like Ark said, to have a customized, like, global build. That's a good idea. Yeah, it's going to open up a new life to the game. When is this coming out, or when do we think it's coming out?
The phases are already done where this the first phase was already out. The second one is going to be coming out in the next update, I think. I'm going to imagine champion system is going to be update 5 or update 6. So probably by the end of the year, I would imagine. At least for the champion system.
Yeah, so, but is it going to be retroactive? I mean...
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep, they are. And as they said, the people who have earned the experience and stuff like that when they switch over, I guess the veteran rank stuff is going to be around. It's still going to be there and stuff of that nature, but there's going to be a conversion because, you know, experience and champion points, there's not a 1-for-1 ratio. So they're going to do a little bit of conversions and stuff like that. So hopefully, they said some people may feel like they lost progress. Some may feel like they gained progress when this stuff comes out. But
right. It's always that way, though.
Yeah. When you're changing an entire system, because as I said, there's not a 1-for-1. It's not, you know, there's not... When they change it, it's going to be almost like leveling again. So when you hit 50, let's say it took 10,000 points of experience to hit 50. And then you were done. And then they're like, okay, now you only need 10 veteran points to hit veteran rank 2. But they were a lot harder to come by. Well, now they're changing it that, well, now instead of 50,000, you needed 100,000 experience points. But how do you convert those 10 points to 100,000 experience? Or, you know, that maybe was an easy conversion, but maybe it's a little harder if the numbers are a little bit more skewed.
Yeah.
So. But yes, there will be a change when that comes out. But I would definitely guess probably around Update 5 with the VR side. Yeah. Last up for their change is they're introducing new gear that will be introduced to us in a different way. And thank you, I love this so much. Now it's bound to the VR rank. New items will come with new content in seasons and will not be bound to a VR rank. The rarity of items will be higher when they are the current season, and the last season will have... Oh my goodness, I must have been drunk when I wrote this sentence. I'm just going to scrap all that. How it's going to work is when a new season comes out, it's going to be rarer to get. And the older season, the season that preceded it, will now become the new item. And a lot of games do this. Warcraft does this, Final Fantasy XIV does this. When you were leveling up, when you were doing dungeons and stuff, you got justice points that was a currency you could use to buy items that were the previous tier. And your whatever the other ones are, valor points that were capped or whatever, those were used to buy the highest level tier. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a buy system, but it's just an example. Now, what happened was they kept the point system. That always stayed the same. But when the next season came out, the stuff that was in the veteran, that took the valor points, went down and was able to be bought with justice points, and that the previous season was taken off the merchants. And then the new set of tier gear was put into the valor point set. So it allowed for people who came back to the game not to feel like, oh crap, now I gotta go through, maybe it was in a WoW expansion, if you quit at the beginning of an expansion and came back at the next one, that could be 3 or 4 seasons of gears or tiers of gears, and you're going, oh great, now I have to go and I can't go into this dungeon until I have this specific item level or this set of gear on, but I can't get this set of gear unless I go back and do these dungeons, but no one's doing them anymore because the people who have been playing already have all that gear.
Yeah.
So by doing it this way, the new season of gear will always be rare and require you to go into the hardest content or get the rarest materials, will always be more difficult to acquire, and the season before will become the new standard gear, so when people come back go, oh, I only have to do this, and I will be at least on par to get the better gear. And as he said, there will be a gear chase, and there will always be a gear chase. And that's one of the best, that's, as much as people are like, oh great, I hate gear grinds, they're dumb. I'm going to say it, they're dumb. Because gear grinds, people like being rewarded, and how better to reward other than advancing your character is advancing your character via gear. When you get new gear, you feel good. But this is the problem I had with Guild Wars 2, is they didn't have it, they capped gear at a certain level. It was all aesthetics after that. After you got the best gear, your character didn't really grow in power through gear anymore, and it was just like, alright, I got a look that I like, and now, yeah. What's my motivation to go do anything else? Now there will always be a motivation of, even if you get all the best gear, oh, well, when the new season comes out, I'll have new gear to go after. Something for you to do. Ark, what do you think about the gear seasons?
Well, to make a comment on gears, I first have to look at the Deltia's gear guide, because the way I play, I simply just take an item, look at it, oh, this looks cool, so I wear it. I don't really care about the specifications, but that is because I'm not really a MMORPG player. I play Elder Scrolls Online because it feels like Elder Scrolls. Still, not being an MMORPG player, I don't really know about what gear should I use, what would be best for my character. So I don't really know about how the session items will turn up, but I can say it will keep the desire going, so yeah, it would be good.
Oh, I mean, this doesn't even have to be an MMO thing. Let's go back into a single-player Elder Scrolls game with like Skyrim. Eventually, like when you got your smithing up and everything like that, as you were going up, you were getting gear that was slightly better as you were leveling up, going, oh, this level 21 sword's better than this level 15 sword. Okay, I'll grab that. But eventually you hit a point, like when you crafted your gear, you made your Daedric armor with your maxed out blacksmithing. No gear ever matched that again. And most of the time, I'll tell you this as a player, because I liked gaining gear, a lot of the times when I hit that point is when I decided to make a new character. Eventually, you just kind of cap out on the type of gear you can have. Like, you have the best crafted gear there is. There's nothing really else for you to chase. And then it's like, you know, what do you do? So, I mean, that's when I always created a new character. But, so there's always, even in single player Elder Scrolls games, there was a gear chase up to a point. You know, ebony armor was better than dwarven, you know? Daedric was better than ebony. And if you got an ebony piece, oh, that's great. But when a Daedric dropped, you're like, oh, I'm putting that bad boy on. So, and TES Fangirl says, my gear must look beautiful. Stylishness and gear bonus are of equal importance to me. I will wear gear I've out-leveled simply because it looks good and tried to compensate in other ways.
See,
you know,
I
do the same thing. You know, I like to be strong, but I got to be good-looking when doing it, you know? Looking good in a fight is half the battle. So, yeah. Which is why one of the things I really love is the being able to craft gear in different styles. I will go and craft gear in a specific style. Even if I get a drop, if it's like a style I don't like, I'll be like, I can just create this. Deltia. Gear seasons.
Well, thanks, Ark. I did just release my gear guide for Elder Scrolls Online. Just has some basics. I have a sample setup that I'm running.
And Deltia, where would people find that guide?
DeltiasGaming.com. That's my blog, and Twitter at DeltiasGaming. Just anything Deltias Gaming on YouTube. But so if you're need a little assistance on gear and Elder Scrolls Online, I got an outline guide to help you do it. So back to gear. Gear is like a hamster wheel. The harder you run, the slower you move. And that's the way it should be. You should always be chasing something new, exciting, whether it's 1% or 1 point. You want a gear chase, and I'm glad they admit that their game has one and it's not going away. I think this is a clever way to continue having a gear chase without making you level continuously. I think what they originally had planned is to use the VR system to be their way to get gear, and everyone hated that. So they changed it to have seasons. So that way, you're always constantly upgrading or changing or going towards something, but at the same point, if you come back, take a break from the game, you're not completely, lost without something. It's a good balance, it really is, and so it'll keep you in that hamster wheel mode of just running and running and running, trying to get gear, but not really ever obtaining the highest. And usually when people obtain the highest, what do? They quit the game, or they do something else, level on alts, whatever. But generally they're quitting the game, and so you have to have a game that has continuous stuff to do, otherwise people aren't going to be playing it. So I think it's a great addition.
Definitely. As much as I love Guild Wars 2, the leveling experience was fun. When I hit that top level and gear was there and I had nothing left to chase, that's when I quit, because I had nothing I wanted to go for. There was nothing that enticed me as a player to keep going. Yes, I could go farm the world bosses every day for to earn more money, but then what do I do with the money? There was no reason for it.
There's no point to money.
I can't use it to buy new gear because I already got the best gear, So yeah. As much as people, and mostly this comes from the casual, and I'm not saying anything bad about casual, but it does come from the people who are like, I don't feel like I just got a gear that I like, I don't want to have to do it again. Well, those people only put an hour into the game every week or something like that. So for them, yeah, it is a hassle when a new gear comes out. But to be honest, they're not the dedicated fans. They're not the one who play their game every day that are supporting the company. Yeah, they may pay their subscription, but most casuals who only play that limit will subscribe for a month, they'll play for a few hours, and they'll stop for a few months, and they'll come back, that kind of stuff. The hardcore people who, let's look at, up until this point, Blood Legion, who was probably number one sponsored raid team for World of Warcraft, has been playing that game. Almost all of them have been playing non-stop for like 8 years. Because they're sponsored, they get money for it, they like that, that's what they do. And those guys have been paying and been doing all that stuff, and when they release new stuff, like I'm sure, when Blizzard announced their you want to talk about pay to win, their boost to level 90 stuff. I'm sure those guys went, well, in the next expansion, everyone should have one of every class at 90, so that way when the new raid comes out and we know the numbers, we can all bring characters that are, you know, the top tier, you know what I'm saying? So each one of them probably dropped, you know, $60 times 8, you know, and that's 25, actually 30, 40 different active raiders. You know, those are the people who are supporting the game, who are bringing new players to the game by advertising the game. You know, players like Deltia, like myself, like Thais, like Ark, the people who are doing stuff in the community who want to actually advertise the game, because we're kind of doing this. You know, we're free advertisement for ZeniMax because we love the game. We're paying to advertise the game for them.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying for your server costs, I'm paying for ours, we pay for all this stuff. We're doing this because we love the game. We want to do stuff to incentivize the community and make the community want to come out and do stuff. But it's an out-of-pocket expense for us, and we're advertising the game. You have to hold us. If we're bored, we're going to stop doing this. You know, if we don't want to play the game anymore, why would we do podcasts? Why would we have fan sites?
Yeah, but
you know?
Back to the casual thing. I look at casual a little differently. I don't think it's a negative thing, first off. I think what a casual to do has nothing to do with their playtime. It's like you said, how invested they are in the game. They could play 500 hours or 1. It doesn't matter. Are they willing to spend time, stay with the game because they enjoy it, or are they going to drop and leave and never experience anything because everything's bad? That's what I consider a casual. You know, someone who's not really invested in the game. And
exactly, and different people, you know, I didn't even mean to say it in time-wise, because, hey, this week, the most time I got to play in ESO was yesterday and today, and I was playing on and all. I almost didn't have any time to play this week at all because of work and stuff of that nature. It's not so much time, but it is. It's the investment of, you know, the casual people who are like, yeah, I don't want that because I just want to hop in and do this. You know, yeah, it's investment. You may not. Some people don't have 10 hours. I wish I had 10 hours a day to play, but I don't.
Oh my god.
You know, I don't. I don't. But to say I'm pretty heavily invested in the game, you know, running podcasts, you know, working with all you guys in the community and stuff like that. We're invested because it's a game that we love. We want to see it succeed, and as such, you got to keep our attention. If you don't, then we'll stop hosting our sites and our podcasts and stuff of that nature. Because why would we want to cover something that we're not interested in, especially when we're not being paid for it? Some of the other game companies who are like, well, other game companies and stuff like that post, you know, keep up on the news. Yeah, but they're paid to do it. You know, we're not. So yeah. Just because the playtime doesn't mean you're casual or not. It's how invested you are.
And I like this game. I'm going to go again and blast me on the internet if you want. It's not free to play, and I love it. Because that doesn't mean there's going to be 55 people that says their name is Horky Dork Hot Pants 69, and you know the ESOs fail, blah blah. I mean, that's like the free to play model and like what you get out of that, generally speaking. And so like being immersed and trying to play a game like that is just a joke after a while. And then people aren't invested. They spend more time in the game complaining about it than they do playing. And it's refreshing coming in here where I think all the people that bash on the game and hate it are gone because they have to pay a sub fee. So they're playing WildStar and doing that or going somewhere else. And you know, I'm glad because I don't see all the trash talk that I normally see in other MMOs in the general chat. Now, there's always a couple derps that try to get people going by saying Obamacare over and over, but other than that, I think it's pretty good community-wise. So that's why I'm sticking with the game. Is I don't care how popular it is necessarily. It's just it fits me. I like the people in the game. The people on the internet and the Twitter have been awesome. I mean, I haven't seen a better community so far than in this game. I really haven't.
I agree, and that's why I wanted you guys on the show. I love interacting with everyone who's part of the community, and how like even the whole idea of doing community spotlight when we first envisioned it was we wanted to get people in the community out there because we love dealing with you guys, and it's a lot of fun. And I'll tell you this right now. If the game ever goes free to play, which I doubt it ever will, because just knowing the people who run it, I think they would rather close it down than... And again, you can say, oh, but investors, they don't have investors. ZeniMax is privately traded. So, yeah.
It's not EA.
Yeah, it's not EA. If this game were to ever go free to play, I can tell you right now, with 90% certainty, this podcast would not be around anymore.
Yeah.
Because I would just give up on it. Because, like you said, I don't want to be part of that free to play community.
Nope, I'll be out. And they're sticking to their guns and changing things because they have to. They know people aren't going to sub, and that's the great model of sub fee. I'm paying $15. If you don't change the game the way I like it, I'm out. Well, that makes the developers have to stay on their toes and actually do things, otherwise they lose customers. When it's free to play, you're living off of the cash shop, you know, and I get it, but at the same time, it's just not fun. So I'm really excited about it.
It definitely, and this game has such a bright future. That's what we're talking about. Next up is Justice System. Oh my goodness, the Justice System. How awesome is that going to be? I mean, as they show it now, you're able to go around, you're able to loot stuff out of chests and things of that nature. But when the Justice System comes out, now you'll actually have to steal, and you'll be able to kill NPCs in the game. And if you're caught, you will have a bounty. For everything you steal, you get a racking bounty, and that you have to pay in gold, or you become kill on sight, where you won't even be able to go into the cities anymore.
That's going to bring a lot of people into this game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And players will actually be able to act as guards and go after these KOS people to kill on sight who commit murder and who have really high bounties. And it's going to bring active PvP to the world, even within your own alliance. It's going to be awesome. Deltia, I'm just going to let you start. Just what do you think about the Justice System?
Oh my god, I don't even know where to start. It's just, that's like, it's mind blown. If they have this on consoles, I mean, this game will be so popular. I mean, everyone loves that from all the Elder Scrolls games. That's what makes the environment seem so different, is that you can kill basically anyone and it'll affect the game, but that's crazy. You know what I mean? It's like Grand Theft Auto mixed with Swords and Dragons. I mean, what gets better than that? So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say. If it really pulls it off the way that I'm thinking, it's going to be completely game-changing in the sense that I can't even predict the success they'll have. It's going to be awesome. I just can't wait.
I know this will actually bring a lot of hardcore PvPers. Maybe not hardcore, I shouldn't say that, because a lot of the hardcore PvPers are interested in arenas and ratings and stuff like that. But those old school PvPers who like the idea of open world and consequences.
Ultima Online.
Ultima Online, for instance, had this.
Yep.
You stole, you became a gray name, and people could kill you without having a penalty. You didn't commit a crime. Or if you were a murderer, you could actively hunt down murderers and steal their stuff. Those old school gamers who like the idea of consequences for your actions are going to love this. And I mean, I'm going to love it. It's going to be amazing.
Oh my god.
Art, we haven't heard from you yet. What do you think about Justice System? Are you going to stand up and be a guard, or are you going to be a dirty thief?
Dirty thief.
With my current character, I'll be a guard because I'm in a role-playing guild called Iron Sigil, and they won't allow me to become a thief. But I will create a character completely based on sneaking, stealth, and escaping, and increase my bounty as high as I can. So I will be this guy who escapes from everyone through the Tamriel. I'm planning on that, but I have a few questions in mind about the justice system. First of all, how we will notice the players with bounty on them. It will be something that I look at this guy. Oh, he's yellow. He must have a bounty. So will I attack him, or is there something else for it? That's one question. And the other question I have in mind is that what will be the crafters do? I mean, provisioners go around like looting everything they can find. I mean, they go into Mage's Guild, loot there, get out, go into Fighter's Guild, loot there, get out. Now all this will be counted as stealing, I guess, right?
Yeah, and actually, I think I can have some speculation on both of those. First off, you're not going to be able to attack players. You're definitely going to be attackable. So, like, yeah, you'll go yellow if you're a thief or you have a bounty because you've committed a crime and now you're able to be attackable by other players. So, you know, like, normally you wouldn't be able to, you know, hit other players, stuff like that. Now, as for crafters, yeah, they do go around, they do get all that stuff, but you know what I think this is going to do? I think it's going to, alongside of the guild kiosk, I think this is going to definitely incentivize the community, because now maybe provisioning materials will be able to be sold because people have to steal them, or maybe this is preparation for a type of housing where when you get housing you can plant stuff and get provisioning materials that way, like, you know, a type of crafting or growing system in the game is what I'm hoping for. But right now, no one sells provisioning materials. Why? Because they're everywhere and they don't have a value. But once it becomes more difficult to find them, I think the market will definitely go up for provisioning materials, especially for people who don't want to risk stealing, because you have to pay a bounty then, you know, which could lower your entire profit margin. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing, even for crafters, which will make it harder for materials to come by. But then crafters will have to buy materials off if they want to be lawful citizens. But then with that cost, now they're paying more. Now they can charge more, going, well, before I sold you a stack of food for 100 gold because, you know, I just had it. Well, now maybe that stack of 100, you know, food is going to go for 1,000 gold because of the risk that was involved in getting the materials. I think it'll be good for the community.
Amazing. Either way, justice system is going to be amazing.
Oh,
Yes.
Absolutely. Because now here's the thing: is when I get provision materials, I often throw them into our guild bank for anyone who wants to craft that way, and I know I use it as a repository. And off topic, but I'm just watching the stream here for a second, and that little circle ability that person had for you, Deltia, where they surround you in a circle of ice, that was pretty cool with the safe zone in the center. I like that.
Yeah, NPCs, yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, I when it becomes more rare, like sometimes if I'm out in the world and my bags get full and I have crafting materials, I'll delete them. I'll be like, no, they're not worth anything, but maybe they'll now be worth something. I'm sitting there with an apple going, well, maybe I don't want to delete this apple anymore because this apple is needed for a high-end crafting recipe that now sells for a lot of money. So this is now more intrinsically more valuable to me than it was before because now it's harder to get. So yeah, I think it'll be great for the economy, because here's the thing: what happens in an economy where there's too much supply and not enough demand? Well, everything gets dirt cheap. Particular, Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy 14 has this problem with some of the low-level crafting mats that are accessible. People are selling them on the auction houses in those games for vendor price. So or even lower than vendor price. So people are just dumb and not paying attention to this, but they're like, oh, well, an NPC vendor will buy this for 5 gold. Well, people have it up on the auction, I'll put it for 4 gold. Well, then after you get the taxes take off of it, you get like 3 gold back. It's like, well, dude, you could have just went to a vendor and sold it. But the problem is there's so much supply, not enough demand for it. That's what happens. Now, when the demand goes up, but the supply lowers, that's when people go, I got an apple here, who wants it? Someone's like, I'll give you 5 for it. Another guy's like, no, I'll give you 10. And the guy's sitting there, well, you know what? Who's going to offer me more for it? That's the beauty of supply and demand. Absolutely beautiful.
I think I found my role in justice system.
Selling crafting mats?
Yeah.
That's right. And Hero Lives says farming is probably going to be one of the next professions. And I actually, like I said, I hope that's part of the housing system. Final Fantasy 14 has this, and it's one of my favorite things about their housing system is the housing's not just for housing. You can do stuff in it. You can craft in it. You can, just like in Skyrim with the Hearthfire, You can build a farm, if you will, and plant alchemy mats or cooking mats, even though in Skyrim, why would you do cooking mats? But you could grow things in your house, and I think it would be a fantastic part of housing if they add a type of farming or a type of herb growing kind of stuff, because if they let me build a greenhouse, I'm going to be stacking that with alchemy herbs like crazy. I mean, so much Nirnroot, it'll be crazy.
You're going to sell illegal Nirnroot?
Yeah, like you're gonna walk into my house and my entire house will be singing from Nirnroot because my entire greenhouse is gonna be nothing but Nirnroot. You open the door and it's like a church choir, like it's coming out at you. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna love it.
Don't steal my skooma, bro.
Don't steal my skooma. All right, so yeah, these are just things that are awesome, and with like justice system, this will make the game feel even more alive. And even the people who don't care about immersion, this will just be a neat thing to do. Whether you like being that thief, now there's real consequences to it. You know, whether you want to be that assassin, there are real consequences to it. TS Fangirl. OMG, constant Nirnroot chiming would drive me crazy. No, I love Nirnroot.
Yes,
love it.
I would decorate my house with it in real life if I could.
Me too.
That
absolutely.
Is awesome.
And actually, you know what's really funny? It's kind of off topic, but I know where you live. Do you guys have dandelion there?
Where I live?
It's kind of a weed, but dandelion, the actual weed flower itself looks just like Nirnroot when it doesn't have the yellow flower on it. Like the petals look just like Nirnroot. Next time, go look at dandelion leaves. It looks just like Nirnroot.
Yeah, they're in my yard everywhere.
Yeah, just go look and be like, I have Nirnroot everywhere. All right, let's move on. Next up is Nick Konkel, gameplay lead, talking about spell crafting. Spellcrafting indeed.
I'm worried.
Okay, so we're gonna have one negative here, but let's go over this, what I have here. So with spellcrafting, you'll be able to find and combine spell effects in the game. You will be able to create new abilities to add to your hotbar. How this is gonna work is gonna be tied to the current Mages Guild, where you'll be tasked to go out and find doorways with this neat little mage light ball spell that you cast, and it goes flying off in the direction of the nearest invisible door. So there's going to be a lot of exploration and stuff from this. It's going to be really great. But what you do is you'll need to find and complete the inscription via these stone tablets. There will be a new UI element to copy those tablets. And you take the etchings and you keep them in a journal. And once you find the base spell, once you've completed a full tablet, you'll learn a base spell from the classic Elder Scrolls spells, Destruction School, Alteration School, and they showed us a couple, like Conjure Flame Atronach, Oak Skin, Conjure Familiar, there was one other one, why am I drawing a blank on it? I don't know, but all these different spells from the original classes of magic will be able to be found, and that's what is known as a base spell. Now what you'll be able to do within spellcrafting is you'll be able to customize this further by attaching a different bonus to it, such as, let's just say we had, I don't know, you could make it an ultimate if you attach an ultimate, or you could reduce its cost, or you could make it an AoE. There's like six different types of augmentations you can do to the base spell to make it unique. Like one of the things was you could make a Flame Atronach and make it a persistent pet, like a sorcerer pet, which is really cool. TS Fangirl actually made a good point. The spell kind of reminds her of Clairvoyance spell from Skyrim, where it would go towards the directive. And actually, that's a perfect analogy. It's exactly what that is. You summon this ball of light, and it goes towards whatever your objective is, and you can follow it. So, and apparently what they're doing is they're taking different types of spell or different types of stones, and you'll be able to augment the spells to make them more powerful or cost more or whatever to make. So let's start. Ark, you like this spell crafting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
first of all, it requires exploration, so that's the best thing for me, since I spend a lot of time just running around, what's here, what's there. And about that, I'm hoping that spell that shows the doors has a limited range, because I want to use it like, oh, there's a ruin here, there might be a doorway, so I'll go in, explore it, and cast the spells in various places to for spell to be active and find me the door. Beyond that, I mentioned customization, increased customization in champion system.